So hello all, this video is about creating this sheet metal enclosure for the frame as I presented to you in the first lesson. So let's have a look. To be honest, I have been cheating a little bit, so I've already done it. But that will be a very short video if I end it here. So I'll take it more or less from scratch and demonstrate how it could be done. But you see, what I have chosen to do is start with a face here and then add as a contour flange, another contour flange over there, and add in a corner seam, and then I create the two faces at the bottom and added bends to it there. Then I'll end up with doing the cuts and this text thing. It can be done in many ways, this kind of stuff, but that's my choice. It could also, for example, this surface here has been done as a face, I guess. Then you could connect to the other faces with bends. But let's try it out. And I'll start as my normal startup window here. Normally when it's a part, we start up here, as I mentioned in the class. But for now, we want to create a sheet metal. So I'll start up a sheet metal part as a metric one here. And sheet metal. And this one, I will now end it because we will, we have the first sketch here. So I'll simply end that empty sketch. And then I will derive it in this frame part. So it should be based on the frame part we have here. So that's my first step. So you can see we got it open here. You can see what we have possibilities, options now is create a face, contour flange, lofted flange, contour row. That's a basic one. Or we can derive something. We can then build something onto. So I will derive it from somewhere. Let's see if I can find it. I guess I got it here somewhere. F22. Let's see if I got it here. Got my frame here. This one, and I'll open it. Derive it in, and you can see as I also showed you in the class, we got this dialog window showing up, and we only want this derived part as a surface. It can also be a solid if it's if there's a reason for it, of course. But here I want it as an empty shell, as a surface I can work with. I'm not touching these parts. It's not doesn't apply to this exercise. And as I mentioned here, we can scale it also here. So that's one of the areas in the Inventor where you can scale things. So make big or small if that's needed. It can be nice sometimes. So I'll OK it. And here we got our surface. Or actually we got the frame. It is a frame we have imported. But you can see, if you click the plus, we can see it is a surface. To make it a little bit clearer, we can take away the translucent thing if I right click on it. So it's clearer for us to see what is going on. So first thing, start with the face here maybe. So I'll start a sketch on that surface. The first one is straightforward, I guess. We could start up sketching here, of course, but we could also project the geometry. Project geometry is, this one is where you can pick the edges you want to project, and then from another geometry. To make it easier, I'll use the one project cut edges, and it's projecting all the edges going through this sketch I have chosen. So we can see what's going on here. Zoom in, so it's simply projecting also the holes. And if, of course, we don't need them, we can leave them out. So that was an easy way of creating a sketch without any dimensions, fully constrained. Fine. So we can now create the first feature as the face. This is the one here. We assure it's going in the correct direction. I think so. It's a new solid, of course. It's the first one, so we'll okay it. Before we carry on, I think there was this thing I forgot here. Generate the sheet metal by deriving the frame part, thickness 2 mm. I haven't taken that into consideration. So I will move to my sheet metal default. Normally we'll do that as the first thing, but you can always change it on the fly. So we'll have a look at the default. We'll stick with the default. It's okay to have a generic here, but of course if it's another material, we can choose it here. Slightly different K factors, but we'll stick with a default K factor here as well. Use the thickness from rule. We can do that if then go into the rule, or we can override it, taking away this tick mark, and then we can override it to be 2 mm. And you see it changed it now, so it's now 2 mm. So far so good. The next thing, and I think the way I have chosen to do it is create this surface here, and I'll create it with a contour flange. So you see what I have done. Yeah, I think I demonstrated on my part. I'll simply start a new sketch again on the surface, or we could choose sorry, we could choose this surface, whatever. It's more logical. But the thing is, I want to now create a line as my contour flange, which I will then connect to this corner later. And I think I'll start out here somewhere. So I got some, will add a dimension. So I can easier change on things. I've done this in advance, so I know a good choice here could be adding a dimension of 1 mm as the distance here, and then this should be horizontal to that one. So I choose a horizontal constraint here. That one to that one jumps down. Same down here. I will now take a vertical constraint and pick the corner there to the endpoint. Still need 1 dimension. And I have again done this in advance, and I know a good value here could be 4. But it's up to you how you will create it, of course. And it can also be done in other ways. I think you can connect also to the points there. But now I have got some freedom in. I can change the dimensions on it. So I'll finish my sketch now and create now a contour flange. That one. Profile. Obviously, it's an open profile, so I choose that one. And we need it's on edge select mode. Haven't got any loops here, so it's a simple edge here. Connect to that edge. You can see it's adding. It's what it's planning to do now. It's adding this flange to it, and you can see it is adding a bend straight away to that edge. It might be that you need to pick that edge. Here, I actually picked it. Sorry. So I picked that edge and then I connect it to it, and then it's adding this bend straight away. I think this should work. Leave the other things as they are. We'll not flip anything here. It doesn't make sense. And you could see what happens up here. It seems to be going well. You see I have my 1 millimeters there. And we could, just for fun, if we changed it, see what happens. If it's only change it to 0.2, for example. You can see what happens. You can see then we got this overlap there. That's what. So we can now control it. We can also make it longer, this one, if we want to change that dimension. But we got the option now got freedom to change things. So far so good, I guess. So that was my first, but still we of course want to build something else on it. See what I have done previously. So I got my face, I got my contour flanks here with the bend added. Then I'm actually adding the other contour flanks. I do that in the same way, exactly the same dimensions. So I think I'll follow that strictly. So we are over here. So we'll go over here. Start a new sketch on this surface. Flying around a little bit. Again, simply create a line from up here and downwards, like that. Assure that this endpoint is vertical with that one, and actually here it is not vertical, it's horizontal here, so it should be horizontal. We got the same situation, and then it should be vertical, because of this, you can see it from the cube, and I actually turned it, that's why vertical is horizontal. So vertical is of course still vertical, if you look at the cube here. Dimensions needed, use exactly the same ones. I think this was the 1 millimeters, and down here, and we had the 4 millimeters, like that, fully constrained, perfectly fine. You see if I can make our contour flanks again here with a little luck, like that, and the edge we want to connect to that one, and it creates my flange with the bend on. And it's onto the edge. I want to have this onto the full edge. As a demonstrator, we have these options also, width, offset, from to, and so on. But I think we'll stick with this one and see what happens. So what have we got? I don't think it looks correct. Totally correct. So let's see what happened. Oh, sorry, I was the wrong one. Contour flange here. What's this one? We had the underlying sketch here, so I'll check that out. Let's have a look. Be that I need to flip the offset direction. Yeah, that's better. So my problem was simply the offset direction here. You see it changed, flipping it. And then it's better. We got the same shape as up here. So sometimes some small things happening that can be tricky, but there's normally a reason for it. So far so good. We got the 2 contour flanks added. Then I want to close this area. As we have here, the easiest way to do that is simply using this corner seam. See if I close this, you can see I've added a corner here. And that's the one called corner seam. That is a useful feature that we're having here. You can create a gap I can close the gap, or they can cut off also if that's needed. Let's try it out, see what happens. That edge to that edge, and we leave it with a symmetric gap, and okay it here. Then we got something that looks a little bit strange. We can have a look at that. You can see on my already done cover this corner. I think I'll open it so we'll see what I have chosen here. You see the gap. I have to use the gap size here, but I have divided with the 4. And then I had added a corner here to be round. And I have been fiddling around a little bit with it, and I found that to be some useful dimensions. So I can demonstrate it on a new part here. I have my corner, double click on it to open it again. Stick with the symmetric, I think that's a good idea. But if I divide that before, you can also add a value, of course, to it, whatever you want. Or you see here, you can take a parameter from something else. So we've got different options here. But I leave it with the gap size divided with 4. So I know it's always connected to the gap size defined in the sheet metal default here. The corner, I'll add it as a round corner. I think that looks nice. And the corner relief size is taken from the, I'll leave the cursor here. Yeah, and divide that with 2. I think that's not just 2. Divided with a 2 like that. I think it gives a nice look of it. So like that. You see now I have a nice round corner there, and I got a pretty nice gap here as well. So something like that, according to my choices. So it's beginning to look nice, I think. So next thing I want to add is the face. What face is it? That face over there. So let's follow the recipe here. I have done. We can have a look at it when I'm adding this. You can see I have make it smooth transition here between. So we can have a look, and so I haven't done this face exactly to the edge of this frame. But let's have a look and see what I have done. In the other side, I think it's exactly to the edge of it. Let's have a look, see how it works. And then I have also the bent added. Let's have a look. So I'll start a sketch on this surface. And instead of using a product cut edges, I could do that, of course. But I think I will create a rectangle like that. And then I'll not take it from the end, but I will create it with a distance and then connect to the underlying part like that. And you see we got one dimension needed because we have control of this distance. So we can add a distance here, of course, if that's what we want. But you could also choose to actually make that what's it called, collinear with that edge that we have from the corner that we did, the corner seam, just for fun. So let's try to do that. So I'll simply project that edge like that, and then I will create a collinear constraint on that to that one. So it's fully constrained now, because it now should create a nice transition piece there. So let's see what's happening. Finish my sketch and create a face onto it, creating that direction. That's nice. Bend, use the bend radius, and then I could connect to the edge up here now, straightforward, like that. You see what happens, it's adding a bend now to it, and it should close this gap I have here. See what happens. So I think it actually looks nice. We got no overlap as I see it. So pretty cool. You could also have created without the bend and then have added the bend later. I think I actually had done it here. With the face, you see we have the face and then separately I have added a bend. On the other face I have integrated it, this bend. It works either way, it's not important. Let's have a look at the last bit, the last face here. I'll create that on this face and I do it in exactly the same way with a rectangle. Yeah, I can control that. It should be from the corner up here. Hope it works. And then up here with the distance, and I'll do the same as we did before. I will project this edge from my corner like that, and I will make it collinear like that. It's fully constrained. We'll see what happens, if it works or not. I'll create my face, correct direction here, fine. Edge again, see if we can catch that edge. Seems to be working. See what happens. I will create it. Have a look. It looks nice. I think it looks okay here, with no interference and that kind of stuff. So, and you can see we got some nice smooth transitions here with no edges on. Sometimes if you have a distance, you have got control of that distance. If you have another distance here, then you would actually have an edge here and then another surface here. This would have been moved in here, if you can follow me. But I think now it looks nice, with some nice transitions. We can check if it actually works with the create a flat pattern. Seems to be working perfectly fine, so ready for laser cutting. Got a nice hole there as well, so I think it looks pretty cool. Last part of this one too is to create these cooling ribs, or what should you call them, whatever you like, you can add them. There's also holes added here. I think I'll skip them, but I could demonstrate how to create the cuts here just quickly. Not exactly the same shape. I'll do my own design here. So I'll sketch on this surface, and I think I'll create straight away, you know, the option here with the slot, if you want the slot, of course. Can do a slot. The length we can add it straight away here. Try with 175, and then the length and then the width of it. We can override it here. Watch, maybe 10, whatever. It's fine. We need to control the position of this one. Could be maybe 50, and the distance from the other edge to, what is it, this one, could be maybe also 50, whatever, full constraint. I think that's nice. So I got my profile there, and we can now cut straight away. It's creating our cut. We leave it with a thickness. I think that's nice if we later change the thickness. We got other options. With the distance, you can of course override with your own value. And we also got the normal options here. We can choose two next that are also perfectly fine. Two will be fine. We then had to pick the surface, or from two. Then you had to define which surface we are going from or to, and then all. All is maybe not the best choice here. Then it's actually cutting through everything here. If it was geometry on the behind here. I think I'll stick with the thickness. That's fine here. So we'll see what happens. It's creating a nice cut. And then I can create some more cuts with patternizing it. So choose the feature here, the cut feature. Define the direction from that edge. I flip the direction. Don't want the cuts in that direction. I want the other direction. Can choose the numbers here. I think I'll choose 10, whatever. And then distance of, see if it looks okay, or maybe a little distance here. Something like that. 30. Then we got our nice cooling ribs there. Last thing is to add a text of something here. It's called Mike Ink, whatever. I think I've simply just written via. Why not? So I'll start a new sketch. That one, and now I'll simply create a text. Add it here and write via. I think this value here will be pretty small, so I'll override it, make it much bigger. If it works. Let's see what happens. Not much, it's still small, so I need to. Still there's 305 here, so I need to choose it and then change it to, I think it was 75. What? I think it changed it now. So let's see how it looks like. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. What we want, we got the framing. I think I'll change that. So I better easier to control it. And also I want to rotate it. Obviously it's not correct now. So I rotate it. What do I want to rotate? I want the text to be rotated. And the center point I want to rotate about maybe that one. So you can drag it like that. 90 degrees. Guess it's fine. And we can move it again. We want to make a more proper look. So something like that. Whatever. Finish it. You can see now I want to make a cut. As you notice here, we can't use the sheet metal cut. We have no valid closed loop. So this cut doesn't work with text simply. But we are free to use, I've got a lightning on, I want to update that. We can also use the normal 3D model options we have. So we can use a normal extrusion that we are using, or we can use also an emboss function. If we have a distance here, then we could also create it as an emboss. But I'll create an extrusion simply from this text, and you see now we can do it. And now it's adding material, but I want to create a cut like that. And options, yeah, we got through all now, maybe not the best choice again, so I think I'll click to next, then it will actually create it to the next surface, which is the one behind. So with a little luck, it should work. Yeah, seems to be okay. So now I have got my nice enclosure here, or cover for the frame part. And I'm not fiddling around with adding holes. You can of course do that as well to conclude it. You can also add some faces onto the other side and here, so we make a fully enclosed enclosure or cover.